regular meeting of the South Haven Planning Commission for September 4th, 2025 will come to order. May we have a roll call, please?
Michael Campbell,
Here.
Paul Fitton,
Here.
Clark Gruber,
Here.
Larry Heinig,
Here?
Mary Hasley. Here. Eddie Polk,
Here.
Tim Stegman, Janice Varney. Here. Bob Sherman.
I move to excuse Commissioner Sherman and Stegman from the meeting.
I second.
Second, any discussion? All in favor say yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is the approval of the agenda.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the agenda.
Support.
Motion made and seconded to approve the agenda. Any discussion? All in favor say yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Next agenda item is approval of the minutes of Thursday, August 7th, 2025.
I move to approve the minutes of Thursday, August 7th, 2025, regular Planning Commission meeting.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to approve. Any discussion? All in favor say yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no. Motion carried. Item number 4 is public comment. Citizens in the audience may address the Planning Commission on items that are on the agenda for which there is no scheduled public hearing. As I look at the agenda, I see none that qualify there, but we usually at this point do read the log of emails that we have received, so we'll do that at this time. From Jerome LaRue, memo in opposition to changes at 120 baseline. Mary Shashegi, in opposition to changes at 120 baseline. Janie LaRue, in opposition to changes at 120 baseline. Patricia and Michael McInnes, in opposition to changes at 120 baseline. Kathy Russin, in opposition to a special land use for 307 Spruce Street. Raquel and Annie Lipford, in opposition to changes at 120 baseline. Mike Jones, in opposition to changes at 120 baseline. David Parker, in opposition to changes at 120 baseline. Jeff Crampton of Grand Law Attorneys, statement regarding Councilmember Hosley's potential conflict of interest. Letter was previously received. That is the list that I have. Council members, do you recall anything other than that? If not, we'll move on to item number 5, new business, 307 Spruce Street, special land use and public hearing. Kelly?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So the primary agenda for this evening is a special land use application for 307 Spruce Street, which is located in the Harbor Club Planned Unit Development off Baseline Road. The property owner would like to use an existing 4-bedroom, 2-story dwelling as a short-term rental. And as I hope you remember, STR-related zoning amendments from earlier this year included an overlay district that permits short-term rentals when authorized by the Planning Commission as a special land use. So 307 Spruce is located in the STR overlay district, and this will be the first of these that the Planning Commission has reviewed. So this is here for you tonight for review and for a public hearing. And the applicant is here as well for any questions that you may have.
Would the applicant like to come and tell us what your intentions are at this location? If you would state your name and address, please.
Hi, I'm Melissa Schlinger. My address is 307 Spruce Street here in South Haven. My husband and I have been bringing our twins here since they were born every summer, and We bought this home so that we could have a more permanent place to bring them, and also, when we're not here, use it for short-term rentals. We closed on the house in April, and we're told that we would be able to do that because of the overlay district, and so that was our intention. Since that time, we've been trying to go through a new process with Kelly and Megan and the team, and hopefully get through this step. So I'm happy to answer whatever questions you have.
Okay, none for now.
Thanks.
Thank you. I will accept a motion to open the public hearing.
I'll make a motion to open a public hearing.
Second.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to open the public hearing. Discussion? All in favor say yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no. Public hearing is open. If you want to speak on this issue, come to the microphone, state your name and address. You'll have 5 minutes. I see no one rushing to the microphone.
Mr. Chairman, I move to close the public hearing.
Second.
Motion to close the public hearing made and seconded. Discussion? All in favor say yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no. The public hearing is closed. Commissioner questions or a motion? Mary?
I do have just a question. So for the parking diagram that was provided, it indicated dimensions were provided, but dimensions for the parking spaces were not. Kelly graciously provided the details such that the land in front of the residence, I'm scrolling, so it would be page, Kelly, if you could maybe bring that up. It is page 42 of 47 of the agenda packet. And so the home is 4 bedrooms, so they would need 3 parking spaces. And based on what Kelly represented, the area in front of the home is 10 feet wide and over 38 feet in length, so there could be 2 cars there. I believe also there's a garage, and I wasn't sure if that was usable, and it looked like there was room in the driveway for a car. And so it appeared that there was ample parking. I just wanted to make sure that there was no concern about restrictive access if there were an emergency such that Shays would need to get in if 2 cars were parked across the gravel for the yard, realizing that it's in the middle of the block. There's homes on each side of it. So I just wanted to make sure that there was no safety concern and there was ample parking. Such that criteria would be met.
I think that's the same amount of parking as if we had one really long driveway and we allow cars to park in the driveway, although certainly not optimal.
Well,
'Cause
it's really, I would appreciate if Kelly could answer. My concern is it's not the same as a long driveway because they still could go across the front of the yard with the 2 cars parked along Spruce. That's restricted from getting to the house through that. And I drove by today, and it was fairly, the spaces between the homes was fairly substantial that I think Shays could get in. But and I appreciate that these were sent to Shays, but not showing where parking would actually occur. I wasn't sure if that was realized by them, and I appreciate that the plan unit development has been approved, but this is slightly different criteria. So I'm just trying to make sure the safety aspect for the home is not compromised with multiple cars parked there. I know that the Harbor Club area is fairly plentiful with short-term rentals. I know that they've gone extra steps trying to find parking areas in the planned unit development, which is appreciated. But I've also heard from residents about parking in different areas and just wanting to make sure that that was one issue that I've heard about, and I just want to make sure that this adequately addresses parking.
So I think that's really an item for the planning commission to discuss. From a staff perspective, the amount of required parking spaces has been met, and the parking proposed for this property is really no different from any other property at the Harbor Club in particular, but also from my perspective, not so drastically different from a lot of other single-family neighborhoods that we have where cars might be parked in the driveway as well as, you know, on both sides of the street that could make access difficult on any given day during the summer. So I think I would leave that to the Planning Commission for discussion and to your discretion.
Thank you, Kelly.
Anyone else have questions or discussion items?
Are those parking spots legal for anybody for the public, or they really belong to the home? Maybe that doesn't matter, but.
My understanding based on the Harbor Club documents is that those spaces are dedicated for that unit.
It seems reasonable. I mean, the request seems reasonable because like you mentioned, you go to most of our streets and there's public parking in front of many of the houses that we have in similar locations. So it doesn't seem unreasonable to me.
The difference with parking, I mean, the parking requirement is for on-site parking such that it doesn't negatively affect the neighbors so that the street's not congested. And that's always been a concern. And like I said, I do believe the Harbor Club has, with the understanding that previously, under the previous ordinance, there was not on-site parking requirements in Harbor Club or trail side. The planned unit developments were exempt.
Okay.
And so this is a new requirement for the planned unit development. And under the situation, and I do believe that they are dedicated to the home. Maybe that's something the homeowner could confirm for us. I think that would be beneficial. Maybe she could come up.
Well, can we hold that off until, see if there are other questions and other things to bring up?
Exactly, yep.
Okay.
But
All right. Do we have other items we need to talk about or ask about? Okay, I guess if you could answer that question for us, please.
Yes, those spots are, they were communicated to us that those are our spots. Also, I did not highlight the garage. I only highlighted the street, the driveway and the street. So there is actually a third spot in the garage too. So there is actually room for almost 4 cars, depending on the size of the car.
And you're going to open up the garage and allow that for short-term runners to use the parking? There's not like storage stuff in there?
I mean, there is, but if it's necessary, we could. It's completely available for that, but
I don't think it's necessary with that.
Our experience is that there's actually, Harbor Club has, I don't know if that's new, there's a lot of parking, overflow parking throughout Harbor Club that they have allocated for that are not in front of homes, but on side streets by the pool, just created like mini little public parking spaces for overflow.
and
Thank you.
and that is relatively new.
Yeah, that's good.
What are your wishes?
I guess I'll make a motion to adopt Resolution 25-04, a resolution approving a special land use application for the short-term rental use at 307 Spruce Street.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Support.
We don't need 2 seconds. But thank you for that.
And I tried to read through the resolution. I don't think there's anything we need to remove, because sometimes it says to include stuff. I don't think we added or subtracted.
Further discussion?
I would just ask for clarity from legal whether we have satisfied the requirements under special land use, do we need to discuss each element, or has the discussion been sufficient? Is there anything else that we should do?
I mean, I would, excuse me, I would leave the extent of discussion to the discretion of the commission. But at least from my perspective, I don't think that you have not satisfied anything. But to the extent that you want to have more discussion, that would be at your discretion.
Well, you have all the items in front of you. You've looked at them. If you have questions, we need to talk about that. If you have concerns, part of discussion. If there's nothing to discuss, I will call for the question. Can we have a roll call vote, please?
Campbell,
Yes.
Benton,
Yes.
Gruber,
Yes.
Hasley,
Yes.
Polk,
Yes.
Varney,
Yes.
Heinig.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Moving on to item number 6. Another opportunity for public comments. Citizens in the audience may address the Planning Commission regarding items not on the agenda. Once again, if your name and address, and you have 5 minutes.
Thank you. Can you hear me? All right, my name is Linda Alberry, and I live at 777 North Shore Drive. And I'd like to speak to you about the 2025 Draft Master Plan, which is not on tonight's agenda. I have many concerns about the overall incompleteness of the plan. And I'm going to limit my discussion tonight to the topic of mobile homes, AKA manufactured homes. To start with, I'm going to reference pages 26, 69, and 71 of the master plan, which states there is a desire to provide a mix of housing options to assure housing for full-time residents, recognizes the need for housing for the missing middle, and introduces a new zoning code, MHC, for manufactured housing community. And I understand and support the idea of all of that. However, as you are likely aware, in almost all circumstances, MHCs do not pay property taxes. Rather, they pay $35 per year to the state, since they are not considered permanent homes, regardless of how they look or how big they are. And by law, they are not governed by local ordinances or authorities. Plan development, oversight, and monitoring is the accountability of a central service in Lansing. I believe MHCs are a risk to the integrity of our neighborhoods and a drain on our resources and a potential liability to our city. The 2025 Master Plan does not provide specificity of guidance as to where these MHCs could and should be located. Rather, the plan's lack of specificity allows them to be almost anywhere, which means that those who want to build this type of community can purchase land which is zoned for multiple uses. They can then come to the city and request zoning for a specific MHC, and if that location is not what was specifically intended for an MHC, the developer can threaten to sue the city council if denied. And the obvious outcome is that the city acquiesces and allows the MHC to be built, even though it is in an inappropriate location. And on it goes. This lack of specificity in the plan not only can harm the integrity of our existing neighborhoods, but puts the city at risk for lawsuits. The plan needs guidance as to where an MHC would be appropriate and where it would not. And then zoning must immediately follow to protect the city from potential lawsuits. For example, as you've already heard from some of the letters and emails that came in, a manufactured housing community is being requested for 120 baseline. It is wholly inappropriate for that land to be used for a mobile home community. The 2018 master plan specifically stated that 120 baseline would be ideal for single-family homes should the property become available. And that text in the 2018 plan was based on broad community input. And now suddenly, it has been dropped from the 2025 plan, a plan which, I might add, was intended to focus on coastal resilience and not wholesale changes to zoning. Now, the developer who purchased 120 baseline wants to build a seasonal high-density resort at 120 baseline, and he can, because he bought that when the zoning had not been changed, and the original zoning was broad and nonspecific. Additionally, the developer is going one step further in his quest for profitability by asking for a zoning change to allow an MHC for which he will not pay property taxes on each mobile home. This move will further denigrate our single-family home neighborhood integrity and introduce an inappropriate number of guests during the summer months, straining our resources. Further, 120 baseline, when developed appropriately, will be a source of beneficial property tax revenue for our city, and that benefit would be completely erased should an MHC be installed there. The only person who benefits from a seasonal MHC on 120 baseline is the developer, and his benefit is through property tax avoidance. The residents do not benefit, and future residents do not. It's seasonal. Finally, if the 2025 plan seeks to prove that multiple housing options are available, the MHC community currently located adjacent to the depot should be zoned as such ASAP. We do have an MHC within the city limits. It's just zoned incorrectly. I look forward to communicating with the City Council and requesting that the 2025 draft plan be returned to the Planning Commission due to
Thank you for your comments. Your time has expired. Is there anyone else who would like to speak?
Good evening, Planning Commission.
Good evening.
My name is Susan Shields. I'm at 777 North Shore, which is at the three-way stop of Baseline and North Shore. I'm the president of the board of the Windsurfer Condominiums. I thank you for the opportunity to voice my thoughts and concerns about 120 Baseline. In the 2018 master plan, it clearly included protective language for the countryside nursing and rehabilitation property at 120 Baseline. It recommended that if the site were ever redeveloped, it should be for single-family and or multifamily use, consistent with the neighborhood. That same language appeared in the November 2024 draft and was reaffirmed in the January 2025 Planning Commission workshop map. But in February 2025, this protection paragraph was somehow removed, with no discussion in public meetings, no record of Planning Commission direction, and no explanation in the minutes. This kind of silent removal undermines trust and tells residents that public participation doesn't matter, that city planning is vulnerable to behind-the-scenes changes. As I understand it now, we're waiting for the previously misleading and now to be corrected rezoning application for 120 Baseline to change that zoning from RH1 to Manufactured Housing Community, or MHC. When extra steps are required for this kind of application, our city has a fiduciary responsibility to ensure all steps are taken and documented. One concern is that any proposed site plan may become irrelevant because it can simply change after rezoning. The issue is, what is the maximum number of homes that can go on this property? Does 120 Baseline zoned as an MHC advance the city's long-term goals, that include encouraging housing for year-long residents, encouraging housing respectful of our sensitive natural areas, and growing our tax base? Do we yet have the results of a soil erosion and sedimentation study? An SESC permit is required for earth change within 500 feet of a lake, wetland, stream, river, or county drain. We are sensitive to maintaining what the master plan refers to as, quote, coastal resilience, quote, and we are watching. And finally, I need to speak about the move to have Mary Hosley recuse herself from voting on this issue. She is our ward representative. Mary has been transparent in helping us in the neighborhood understand how to navigate the city's systems. I will admit to my full ignorance before a few months ago. She's answered procedural questions and clarified zoning names and history within South Haven without ever overstepping or confirming any bias. Rules are rules, and many of us simply believe they should be followed without favor. Thank you.
Good evening. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
My name is Rick Fleming, and I'm a longtime property owner at 777 North Shore Drive with my wife, Diana. As way of background, I spent most of my working career at 3 building material companies, Masonite Corporation, USG Corporation, and Boise Cascade, so I'm very familiar with the construction and housing industries. At the last meeting, I talked about the governance implications of MHC zoning. Specifically, once 120 baseline has been rezoned to MHC, the Michigan Manufactured Housing Commission, and not the Planning Commission or the City Council, will control the development and governance of this project. Today, I'm going to do a deeper dive on the Michigan Manufactured Housing Commission by sharing some facts. The commission consists of 9 representatives appointed by the governor. They are a representative, number 1, of mobile home manufacturers. Number 2, a representative of operators of licensed manufactured housing parks. Number 3, a resident of a manufactured housing park. Number 4, a representative of organized labor. Number 5, a representative of an organization whose membership consists of mobile home residents. Number 6, a representative of a financial institution that lends to manufactured housing. Number 7, a representative of operators of licensed manufactured housing. Number 8, a representative of a licensed mobile home dealer. And number 9, 1 elected official from a local government. So the commission is dominated by members of the industry who greatly outnumber the 1 government representative. And I should know industry people when I see them. After all, I was one for over 40 years. But here's another fact. The Michigan Manufactured Housing Act dates to 1987. Yes, 1987. There have been repeated attempts to update the Act to establish stricter licensing standards, expand the role of the Michigan Department of Environmental, Great Lakes, and Energy, and improve safety inspections in the parks, including providing local governments with greater ability to inspect these projects. But each time, these proposed reforms failed to pass. Why? Industry lobbying. After all, they control the commission. And here's a final fact. Many of these manufactured housing parks in Michigan are developed and then flipped to private equity. In short, the local government negotiates a deal with one party, and then the project is sold to private equity. This happens more than you might think. In fact, Michigan has the 2nd highest rate of private equity ownership of manufactured housing parks in the nation. And why should you care? You should care because it's difficult to contact these distant private equity owners and ensure that they comply with regulations. After all, they're in the deal to earn a return on investment and not to build a community. Does the city and the Planning Commission really want to cede regulatory authority of 120 baseline, including the right to inspect it, to the MMHC, a commission that is controlled by the industry and has fought repeatedly efforts to reform its governance. The Williams and Works report that you received ended with a recommendation that further study of the Michigan Manufactured Housing Commission may be appropriate. Let's change the may to is appropriate. As a concerned citizen who wants the best for South Haven, as I know you do, I do not want my city leaders to have buyer's regret. The neighbors of 120 Baseline oppose this project and the zoning change vehemently, and we hope you do as well after you consider all the pros and cons of this project. Thank you, and thank you for all you do for our beautiful city.
Good evening. My name is Diana.
Just pull that down so it's easier for you to talk. That's great.
I'm short. Good evening. My name is Diana Fleming. I live at 777 North Shore Drive. And I support the three speakers' views that of 120 Baseline. I'd like to add, there is no evidence that our neighbors to the north, Casco Township, were asked to provide feedback on the plan. The 2025 plan cites an old planning document at Casco Township dated 2012, see page 26, and suggests that high-density housing is appropriate for either side of Baseline Road up to Blue Star Highway. This citation is antiquated and does not align with the reality of development over the last 13 years. To date, only single-family homes have been built on both sides of Baseline since that 2012 document was implemented. Soliciting feedback from Casco Township, which is absent and is required, would clear up the matter and offer both governmental planning commissions the opportunity to be in sync. This is another reason to return the plan to the Planning Commission. Thank you very much.
Is there anyone else? Okay. Thank you all very much for your comments. That item, as you're aware, is not on tonight's agenda, but I understand will be at some future date when we can get a proper application and proper advertisement completed. Is that right, Kelly?
That's correct, and I'm not anticipating that that will be next month at this point. We will wait until that documentation is submitted.
Yep. Okay. Thank you. That concludes our business for this evening, except for commissioner and staff comments. Kelly, would you have some comments for us at this point?
My comments tonight were going to be about the 120 Baseline application, so I don't have anything else. Thank you.
Okay.
Kelly, do you have any anticipation when they might complete?
I'm not sure at this time. I just know that it won't be in October.
Okay, and may I ask one more?
Sure.
First, I'd like to thank you, so that doesn't count as my question.
No, you still have one coming.
So I wanted to thank you for you and also Kate and Mike, right? Yeah, Mike, that meeting at the residence
Yes.
a week or so ago with regard to stormwater runoff and short-term rental questions. At that meeting, we had inquired about a checklist, and I know you and Kate were talking about it. Is there going to be a checklist coming with regard to the zoning compliance determination for everyone's benefit?
I'm not available. I'm not aware of a checklist being produced at this time. This is really, we're finding, is not something that lends itself to a checklist. We are, going back through previous ordinances, looking at history, and there's just really not an easy checklist that we can give you for a zoning compliance determination.
Commissioner comments. We'll start with you, Clark.
You did a very nice job tonight, Larry. It looks like you have some kind of experience sitting in that seat. I guess the only thing is I did get a letter really late, and that was that concern on the conflict of interest letter. And it looked like Mary had to get legal support, and that's really tough to sit on this commission and to have to seek out legal support. I know because our bylaws state that, you know, we have a personal decision on whether or not we think there's a conflict of interest, and I'm not sure, but I think the Planning Commission may be the only area where that statement is there. I'm wondering if it might be easier for us to take that statement out of our bylaws to say if there's a conflict of interest, that if an individual feels like they can be unbiased, that's just the reason. To have to get a lawyer, it just seems like a lot of work. I think it might be easier if we talked about our bylaws next time and maybe potentially looked at revising our bylaws with regards to the conflict of interest. I would make that suggestion because I certainly wouldn't want to have to get a lawyer, because our bylaws allow an individual for a conflict of interest if, and unfortunately Mary's property is next door to the property in question. So normally one would just say there's a conflict of interest because it's a neighbor, but our bylaws state that if a commissioner feels like they can be unbiased, that they wouldn't have to remove themselves. And then to have to get a lawyer, that just seems like a lot of work. I think it might be easier for us to remove that and be more in line with other conflict of interest in other bylaws within the city. It's just my suggestion.
May I either ask a question or make a comment?
Mm-hmm.
It just seems as though if we were actually following the bylaws, we wouldn't be here, because Mary would have been able to make that decision. That's what the bylaws say. And so, we've had a case where somebody's legal representation has stepped in and challenged her ability to do that, but the bylaws say it's up to her. And so, I don't know how else to say this. What are we doing?
Well, the other bylaws don't actually make that decision. If the property is next door, then you are automatically removed from making the decision.
Oh, I didn't know that. So
Yeah.
that's all, okay.
Yeah.
So is that better?
Then it makes it black and white. You don't have to go in and make a decision on whether or not you're biased or unbiased. It's like if the property in question is adjacent to your property, you then automatically can be removed because it is a conflict of interest. I know that I did that on some property and removed myself when it was different associations at Central Lofts. I know that we had other individuals. Stegman removed himself when we were talking about the 335. And I know that when we had a property, I think when it was across the street from a property when we had St. Basil's, wanted to put a building there, that individual removed themselves. So I just think it would be easier that if you are next to a property, that that's just enough, that we just then don't have to say, well, I can be unbiased.
Okay. Thank you.
Eddie?
No comment, Larry.
Excuse me, did you have more to say?
No, I mean that was it. I just think it would be something we should discuss as a planning commission, and then we can be either okay with that statement or go ahead and take that statement out, make it black and white and easier for us. Because Mary has been very helpful to individuals within her community as a representative, providing information, which I think is her role. But, to live next door to a property and then make a decision, that is a conflict of interest. And I just think the caveat of, well, I can be unbiased puts a lot of onus on the individual, and I think it would just be easier just to remove that statement and make the bylaw more black and white. And it's an easier decision. We don't have to go through that discussion.
No further comment, Larry.
I have no additional comments, thank you.
What a wonderful summer. It's been an amazing summer here in South Haven, and really it had to do with all of the help that the city has provided and the enjoyment, certainly, of the townsfolks, along with their multitude of company and the tourists that have come into the town. But I think the city has done a stellar job in making this town shine for all of us. So please, all of those city workers who did that, thank you so very much.
Mary?
Yeah, first, I'm not sure this was the appropriate time to start discussing this. An agenda item would have been more appropriate with regard to the recusal, and it all was precipitated by the applicant actually reaching out directly to our city council, asking for assistance in the process, which is not appropriate, and basically usurped the issue from the Planning Commission. So the whole procedural process here has been flawed from the start. And the whole procedural process, actually, with this proposed rezoning, has been flawed from the start. And I have been the one who identified it, and that is very unfortunate. It started with the problems that resulted in 2 violations from the county soil erosion control supervisor, and also separately a stop work order was issued from the city for unauthorized work under section 2501 subsections 1 and 10 from our zoning ordinance.
Mary?
So I'm getting there.
Okay,
So
I don't think we need to go through all of that
No,
history. The question has come up about whether the
Sir.
recusal was done properly, and whether we should look at our bylaws, and that's what we need to be discussing now.
And what I am getting at is that this was actually a lead up to address comments at the previous city council meeting that were broad, general comments that would make someone infer that anyone can cut any tree they want on their property without any required permit. And that is not the law. So this was a lead up to the fact that we do have laws. We have section 2501 that requires a permit for any land clearing, filling, or excavation in preparation.
Mary, you are out of order. Do you have comments about the bylaws?
No, I do not have comments about the bylaws. I am commenting about the comments last month at the end of the meeting, at which the comments inferred that anyone can clear land, and that needed to be cleared up because that does require permits in certain situations.
That item is not a land use item, and we're here as a planning commission to handle those things. If you have comments about other people's, something that's handled by another agency in the city or another agency of government, it needs to be brought up to them.
And this is actually under the zoning ordinance, so it's handled by the Planning Commission, and it's permits issued by Kelly. And it was at a Planning Commission meeting last month during Planning Commission meeting comments that inferred that anyone can cut trees. And what I am here to clarify is that there are requirements, depending on what the situation is, that there are
Okay,
times
Mary,
when permits are required.
I have ruled that discussion out of order. If you have other comments
And
tonight,
respectfully, I appeal because that, under Robert's Rules of Order, that we are here to discuss our comments. And my comment was that comments at the previous Planning Commission inferred the wrong information that anyone could cut trees without a permit, and that's inaccurate. Separately, so I
okay,
will,
Mary, can you get with me and we'll set up an agenda item for the next meeting?
certainly. And then just in closing, as Janice had commented, our area is very lovely, and this weekend, some people may have seen the parade today from the Flywheelers, and they have things going on through the weekend. So please stay around and enjoy our lovely town.
Thank you. Mike?
First, thank you to the members of the public who came out to speak on issues of concern to you. Please come back on issues that will be handled by this commission on some of those issues that you brought up. Secondly, I wanted to return to comments I made 2 meetings ago where I said that it's time for us to take on some substantive work and roll up our sleeves and begin doing some things that will ensure that we're planning for this city. I want to speak specifically tonight about the need for us to start planning around housing. City Council is doing their work with Overton. They have a project going on. They're talking about a lot of other things. However, the Planning Commission is really the body that should be looking at the future for housing, what impacts there will be on zoning, which is just one thing that needs to change potentially. I believe that we need to step up now because we still have 3 months left of the year. We do not need to wait until the City Council gets done discussing the master plan. They're just doing it as a ministerial task of approving what we were supposed to approve, and they had reserved the right to have a final say. But there's no reason that we should wait until they are done before we start the substantive work. We have a lot to do. There are a lot of ideas out there. There are people that we should be engaging to assist us in making those decisions, not to have more studies, but to actually sit down and start drawing up plans of ideas specific to this city, what is going to work for us. We have our own challenges because we're still seeing people buying homes for second homes with potential retirement plans, and we need to provide homes for the people that we want to bring in for the working people and for the people who are here already that aren't able to afford it. So my plea, and I will speak to Bob about this, is we need to start getting that on the agenda and start actually working on it immediately. That's my comments.
Okay, thank you. Thank you all for your support tonight. Yes, Clerk, I have been in this chair before. I will accept a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor say yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no. The meeting is adjourned.